Hey, I'm Vera Stewart and welcome to the VeryVera show. You know, Thanksgiving is right around the corner and I know my family loves all the traditional favorites, but I love to sneak in something new every year. So this year I've got 3 different recipes that I want to hopefully encourage you to try. We're going to be doing a wonderful spinach, cream cheese, and wild rice casserole that's layered. It's really good. And then everybody has their take on squash casserole. This one is a little different, has fresh thyme in it. And then finally, I'm going to do a sweet potato spoon bread. So while we were getting ready for the show tonight, I went ahead and cooked my wild rice, and I did it a little differently. I put some beef broth in the water, and so you've got a little bit of a beef flavor to that, and it's ready to go. And then I got my mushrooms sliced up, and we've got those sauteing in a pan. And what you want to do here is cook them just long enough to get them golden brown and kind of ready to go. So those have just a few more minutes left, but don't they look good? I love to keep them kind of big like this so they'll be chunky in the casserole. And then finally, we're going to put together some spinach with cream cheese. Now those two combinations go really well together. And I've got a little tip for you. On this recipe, I actually had to strain the tomatoes, and I've also had to strain the spinach. I cooked the spinach ahead. Trying to make it easy for you since we've got so many things to do, I bought the frozen spinach, and I bought the kind that comes in the package that you just put down in the boiling water. That way you're preserving all of the nutrients in the spinach. But if you're going to use the colander several times during the process, just use a paper towel, and that way the cleanup in between dishes goes really well. So I've got an 8-ounce block of cream cheese, and I've just let it come to room temperature, nice and soft. And now I'm going to add the cooked spinach to it. And the paper towel also helps take some of that excess water out. So now we're just going to blend this together. And your salt on this is just a matter of personal taste. I like to put just about a teaspoon of kosher salt in mine. Let me check on these mushrooms real quick. Those are looking just right. So I'm going to turn the heat off on that. And this is a layered dish. So we're going to put together all 3 components in layers, and then we will do it all over again. This almost looks like creamed spinach. So this will be really nice. So just get that spooned in really well. And you know, spinach is one of those forgotten vegetables when we're looking about, you know, what to do and trying to incorporate all the different colors on the plate. So I'm going to start with the rice for my first layer. Let me spray this pan first, or the people that'll be washing dishes after dinner will be mad at me. Okay, so we've got that sprayed. I'm going to take half of this wild rice and put down for my first layer, and you just want to evenly distribute this in the pan. All right, then we're going to do a layer of the spinach. And you know, just take the bowl and just kind of separate it so you know you've taken just about half. And if you'll put it right down the center, then you can take your spatula and just kind of evenly spread that around. This really looks attractive too from the side when you're doing this, but we're going to have a really beautiful presentation at the end. Now I'm going to add my diced tomatoes to the mushroom and mix that together, and that's the 3rd layer. And again, just go straight down the middle with it. And it almost looks Christmassy with the red and green. All right, so spread that around. And then we're going to repeat that all over again. So I got one done ahead that we are going to go ahead and put in the oven. But in the meantime, I'm going to continue this process of layering. We're going to top it with bacon, and then it's going to go in a 350-degree oven for about 40 minutes. So come back with me after the break. We're going to get started on a new squash casserole. Welcome back. And I don't know about you, but holiday time is just the perfect time to just get in the kitchen and take your time and enjoy what you're doing, especially when it comes to vegetables. The mushroom and spinach casserole is in the oven, and while we were on the break, I fried some bacon, and you know that's my tip, is if you want your husband to be happy, just put a little bacon in the pan when he walks in. That aroma is just fantastic. But I got 4 strips of bacon cooked, and then I've got that on a paper towel, and I took the bacon drippings and I cut up some yellow summer squash and Vidalia onion, and now we are cooking that down in my big cast iron skillet. And what I like to do when I'm doing this is leave some of the smaller circles, you know, the size that they are, take the bigger pieces and cut them into fourths so that you still have the resemblance of squash, you know, in the casserole. I think a lot of times people think that a casserole just turns into smush. So if you leave some of your vegetables a nice good size, then you've got that to work with. So that's just about ready. Now let's put together what is going to go in with these fresh vegetables. I've got a cup of mayonnaise, and then I'm using 4 whole eggs. And I'm just going to take my wire whisk and start to mix that together. And this is just one of the casseroles that you could make the night before and get it in the refrigerator and then just pull it out, let it come to room temperature when it's time to start getting everything baked. I know for me, I love the warming drawer for just that purpose, to get several of the casseroles made and in the warming drawer. Now I'm going to add to that a cup of freshly grated Parmesan. That's another thing that I really love about the Fresh Market, is that they always in their cheese section have a lot of the cheeses already grated up for you, and so it's fresh and freshly grated. Really makes a difference in a recipe like this. Now for the best part, and you're going to think, what happened to all that cornbread, Vera, that was in that box? Well, I ate most of it because it is the best cornbread you ever had. I mean, it is so good, and Fresh Market this time of year always has that in the bakery. But we're going to crumble about 3/4 of a cup of this delicious cornbread, and it's kind of like you crumble a little bit and you eat a little bit. And that's what happened to me yesterday when I was making this, because I needed to have another one made. All right, so I'm going to save about that much to go on the top. All right, then another really good part is the fresh basil. And again, you can pick all of these up in the produce department at the Fresh Market. They have every imaginable spice. This is fresh basil. And I want to take the leaves, and I'm just going to lay them one on top of another. And we're going to cut this into strips. And it just smells so good. And this is what I think is unusual about this recipe, is it puts the fresh basil in with the squash. But if you'll wait until the very last minute to do this, you're going to really incorporate that wonderful freshness into this. And you want to have the strips, just keep them long. You're not chopping this, you're slicing it. All right, so I'm going to add that in. All right, now we're ready for the squash. So just spoonfuls at a time, I'm going to add this in. And these are some of those recipes. Again, I know there's certain ones, everybody has their own dressing, everybody has the way they cook their green beans and maybe their collards and their potatoes. But to try something different is always nice, to have maybe one new dish on the counter or on your buffet table for the holidays. If you want to make a healthier version of this, which I can't imagine why anybody doesn't want to use bacon drippings, especially with squash and onions, you can do all of the sauteing in olive oil. Still gets that nice golden brown, but you're taking away some of the fat portion to that, and also the sodium if bacon is a concern with that. All right, so this is just about ready, and I tell you, I just about wear this iron skillet out this time of year. All right, so now let's just mix this together. And you know, this takes away that processed canned soup that you use so many times. And it's really a fairly simple recipe, but just very flavorful. So let's prepare the casserole pan with my cooking spray, which I did ahead. Sometimes you need about 10 hands in the kitchen, but now we're just going to spoon this directly into the pan. And the bacon that you fried earlier is going to go on top, along with that wonderful cornbread. And we'll be getting this in the oven at 350 for about 40 minutes, or if you've made it the night before at this point, that's when it goes in the refrigerator, and it comes out just in time for that wonderful Thanksgiving dinner. So come back with us after the break. We're going to be putting together a sweet potato spoon bread. My favorite part of a dinner party is actually setting the table. So let's get started. One thing that you want to remember is that solids go on the left and liquids go on the right. That will help you know exactly where to place each item. The dinner plate is in the center of the placemat. The dinner knife will go to the right with the blade facing the plate. Then the spoon goes next to the knife, and we want to even ourselves with the plate. We're going to eat from the outside in, so the dinner knife is going to go closest to the plate, and the salad fork goes next. Dessert fork can go at the top of the place setting, and the bread and butter plate, since it's a solid, will go on the left. The bread and butter knife right above the plate. Your napkin always goes on the left. Water goblet in front of the knife. Wine glass next to that. Coffee cup to the side. You're ready to go. Welcome back, and hopefully you've gotten really hungry tonight watching all these wonderful side dishes. And you know, you don't have to wait until Thanksgiving to try them. You can try them anytime. But while we were on the break, I put 2 sweet potatoes that I had wrapped in foil, got those out of the oven. They baked for about 50 minutes until they were nice and fork tender, and then peeled them and mashed them, and now they're already mashed in this bowl. And now I'm making the custard sauce that's going to become part of this spoon bread. So I have 2½ cups of whole milk that's just about to come to a low boil. I'm going to add to that brown sugar, about a tablespoon, and sea salt, and then fresh thyme. Again, these fresh herbs just really make this. And this is where I think the aroma is really different, to be using the fresh thyme with the sweet potato dish. And what we want to do now is get it to a low boil so that I can start adding in the cornmeal. And spoon bread is just one of those dishes that can be a wonderful side dish if you've got a brunch coming up, or you're having people over during the holidays, during the breakfast time. You could do this recipe and put maple syrup over it. It would be delicious. All right, so now I'm going to take my wire whisk, and I've got a cup of yellow cornmeal, and I'm just going to start swiftly adding it and whisking at the same time. And what we're trying to do here is to get it thick enough that it comes away from the side of the pan. And here it's just about doing that. So once I've got it all in there, I'm just going to whisk it really fast. Let me turn this down just a little bit. And you want to just whisk it until it gets nice and good and thick. And And that thyme really, really smells good in here. And actually, all of the dishes that we've made today, the spinach, the squash, and the spoon bread, all three of these could be used together because you've got different colors, different textures, and it would be really nice. So as you can see, this is just about where it needs to be. It's coming away from the pan. All right, so now I've got the mashed sweet potatoes. I'm going to add to that melted butter, 3 egg yolks, and I separated it because I'm going to use the whites in just a minute. And I've got baking powder and pepper. So now I'm just going to mix that up. And the eggs, the way we've separated them, I'm going to be whipping the egg whites to make this more of a souffle type dish. So this is one of the ones that you really can't make at the last minute because the baking powder will start acting immediately. So maybe leave this one to do that morning. You know, a few hours won't hurt anything. All right, so now let's get these egg whites whipping, and they've come to room temperature. We want to get those just whipped up so that we can fold that into this sweet potato mixture. Take that wire whisk out of there. All right, so I like to use a hand mixer for this. Don't really need to get the big mixer out. Doesn't take but a few minutes, especially if you've let the egg whites come to room temperature. So I've prepared 2 pans tonight because I'm going to give one of these away. So it's always nice when you're making a portion of something, instead of halving the recipe when you don't need it all, is to maybe make 2 and give one to a friend. All right, so that's just about right. Now we're going to incorporate this into the sweet potatoes. And again, this is a folding technique because you want to incorporate that air. So you're just moving your spatula little by little so that you're getting that nice and blended. And this will make it rise and look really pretty. So I'm going to let the cornmeal mixture with the fresh thyme in it cool just a little bit more. I'm going to incorporate that. I've got my 2 casserole dishes ready to go, and when we come back from the break, you're going to see the most beautiful display of 3 wonderful side dishes that I hope you'll make for this Thanksgiving. Welcome back, and you know, my favorite part of getting ready for a party is decorating. I love to collect things at flea markets that I can use for displays. You know, the horns came from all up and down Washington Road and downtown Augusta at different antique stores and flea markets. Sally at Three Monkeys in Aiken suggested all of these wonderful leaves that we've used in the kitchen all month that now look great on my display. And then I'm using pewter to kind of go along with that woodsy look. And so I've got my casseroles ready, and I know it's time to get them out of the oven and try them and take a look at them. So let's see what we've got. All right, we started with the spinach dish. And that one is going to go right here. Beautiful presentation. All right, then we did the squash casserole. Put it right here. And everything is a different color, so it's going to look really great on the buffet. And then finally, we've got our sweet potato spoon bread. And I'm actually using a round bowl as a casserole holder for my souffle dish. So as you can see, a very colorful display. We've got the bright orange, the green and red, and the yellow. And that's where I've put together things that I collect and just add to it every year. In fact, you can hardly tell what's real and what's not. Certainly the deer antlers are real, but these pumpkins are real and these are not. So if you incorporate a little of both, you're going to have a look that really comes across as handsome and good looking, and I really love that at Thanksgiving time. So let's look at what everything looks like when you dive in. I'm using my brown quail china, and then I've pulled out a collection of serving spoons that has been in my family for many, many years, and I love to pull these out at holiday time and reminisce about where the spoons came from. Oh me, as you can see, you go all the way down to the bottom with the rice. It's just such a colorful dish. That is gonna be delicious. Smells really wonderful. We'll try that in a minute. Now let's see what the squash looks like. I'll use a different spoon for that. Oh, nice. Really pretty. Baked up really well. Looks great. And then finally, the sweet potato spoon bread. And it's supposed to be crisp on the outside and nice and kind of moist on the inside. And the cornmeal in this gives it a really nice crunch, really great. So as you get ready for your Thanksgiving, I just love the aroma. I want you to think about these recipes, think about your color choices. Don't forget the family favorites, because everybody wants to see those on the table. But I also want to remind you that I'm doing all of my classes with young people. In fact, we did our Thanksgiving class today. It was a huge success. The children just loved it. The first 3 Saturdays in December, I'm doing a class every Saturday. So if you want more information on these classes for young people, just email me at vera@veryvera.com or check it out on our website at veryvera.com. I also want to remind you that as we get into next week, we'll be doing a little bit more with Thanksgiving and then moving right into all of our Christmas specials. And on the 14th, I have a very special guest, Virginia Willis. So as you can see, we've got a lot going on for the holiday season. I'm going to dive right into this sweet potato spoon bread, but I want to thank you for joining us tonight. I hope you'll put us on your calendar for next Saturday. And just remember, no matter what you do it in good taste. And let's see what this tastes like.